A book titled Biocentrism: How Life and Consciousness Are the Keys to Understanding the Nature of the Universe, has stirred up the world because it contained a notion that life does not end when the body dies, and it can last forever. The author of this publication is a scientist by the name of Dr. Robert Lanza, who was voted the third most important scientist alive by the New York Times. He has no doubts that this is absolutely true, and when we die, we simply transform and exist in a different universe or dimension. Lanza is an expert in regenerative medicine and scientific director of Advanced Cell Technology Company. He had been known for his extensive research, which dealt with stem cells. He was also famous for several successful experiments on cloning endangered animal species. But not so long ago, the scientist became involved with physics, quantum mechanics, and astrophysics. This explosive mixture has given birth to the new theory of biocentrism, which the professor has been preaching ever since. Biocentrism teaches that life and consciousness are fundamental to the universe. It is consciousness that creates the material universe, not the other way around. Lanza points to the structure of the universe itself, and that the laws, forces, and constants of the universe appear to be fine-tuned for life, implying intelligence existed prior to matter. He also claims that space and time are not objects or things, but rather tools of our animal understanding. Lanza says that we carry space and time around with us, like turtles with shells. Meaning that when the shell, which is space and time, comes off, we still exist. The theory implies that death of consciousness simply does not exist. It only exists as a thought because people identify themselves with their body. They believe that the body is going to perish sooner or later, thinking their consciousness will disappear too. If the body generates consciousness, then consciousness dies when the body dies. But if the body receives consciousness in the same way that a cable box receives satellite signals, then of course, consciousness does not end at the death of the physical vehicle. In fact, consciousness exists outside of the constraints of time and space. It is able to be anywhere in the human body and outside of it. In other words, it is non-local, in the same sense that quantum objects are non-local. This gives a fundamental proof that the phenomenon paranormal experience, known as astral projection or other out-of-body experiences, are not a manifestations of the brain, but a real travel of the consciousness outside of the physical body. Lanza also believes that multiple universes can exist simultaneously. In one universe, the body can be dead, and in another, it continues to exist, absorbing consciousness, which migrated into this universe. This means that a dead person, while traveling through the same tunnel, ends up not in hell or in heaven, but in a similar world he or she once inhabited, but this time alive, and so on, infinitely. This hope-instilling, but extremely controversial theory by Dr. Robert Lanza has many unwitting supporters, not just mere mortals who want to live forever, but also some well-known scientists. These are the physicists and astrophysicists who tend to agree with existence of parallel worlds and who suggest the possibility of multiple universes. Multiverse, multi-universe, is a so-called scientific concept which they defend. They believe that no physical laws exist which would prohibit the existence of parallel worlds. The first one who came with the multiverse idea was a science fiction writer, H.G. Wells, who proclaimed in 1895, in his story, The Door in the Wall. And after 62 years, this idea was developed by Dr. Hugh Everett in his graduate thesis at the Princeton University. It basically posits that at any given moment, the universe divides into countless similar instances. And the next moment, these newborn universes split in a similar fashion. In some of these worlds, you may be present, watching this video in one universe, or watching TV in another. The triggering factor for these multiplying worlds is our actions. If we make some choices, instantly, one universe splits into two with different versions of the outcomes. In the 1980s, Andrei Linde, scientist from the Lebedev's Institute of Physics, developed the theory of multiple universes. Linde explained that space consists of many inflating spheres, which give rise to similar spheres, and those in turn produce spheres in even greater numbers, and so on to infinity. In the universe, they are spaced apart. They are not aware of each other's existence, but they represent parts of the same physical universe. The fact that our universe is not alone is supported by data received from the Planck Space Telescope. The Planck mission, launched on May 14, 2009, and is measuring the cosmic microwave background, all for a broad range of far-infrared wavelengths and to an unprecedented accuracy. The measurements will enable the extraction of essentially all of the information that can be obtained from cosmic microwave background temperature and isotropies. Planck has the ability to provide answers to many fundamental questions about the early history and evolution of our universe. Using the data, scientists have created the most accurate map of the microwave background, the so-called cosmic relic background radiation, which has remained since the inception of our universe. They also found that the universe has a lot of dark recesses, represented by some holes and extensive gaps. Theoretical physicist Dr. Laura Mersini-Houghton, from the North Carolina University, argue that the anomalies of the microwave background exist due to the fact that our universe is influenced by other universes which exist nearby, and holes and gaps are a direct result of attacks by neighboring universes on us. So there is abundance of places or other universes where our soul could migrate after death, according to the theory of neo-biocentrism. But does the soul exist? Is there any scientific theory of consciousness that could accommodate such a claim? According to Dr. Stuart Hameroff, a near-death experience happens when the quantum information that inhabits the nervous system leaves the body and dissipates into the universe. Contrary to materialistic accounts of consciousness, Dr. Hameroff offers an alternative explanation of consciousness that can perhaps appeal to both the rational scientific mind and personal intuitions. According to Dr. Stuart Hameroff and a British physicist, Sir Roger Penrose, the consciousness resides in the microtubules of the brain cells, which are the primary sites of quantum processing. Upon death, this information is released from your body, meaning that your consciousness goes with it. They have argued that our experience of consciousness is the result of quantum gravity effects in these microtubules. Consciousness, or at least proto-consciousness, is theorized by them to be a fundamental property of the universe, present even at the first moment of the universe, during the Big Bang. In one such scheme, proto-conscious experience is a basic property of physical reality, accessible to a quantum process associated with brain activity. Our souls are in fact constructed from the very fabric of the universe and may have existed since the beginning of time. Our brains are just receivers and amplifiers for the proto-consciousness that is intrinsic to the fabric of space-time. So is there really a part of your consciousness that is non-material and will live on after the death of your physical body? Dr. Hameroff stated the following. Let's say the heart stops beating, the blood stops flowing, the microtubules lose their quantum state. The quantum information within the microtubules is not destroyed. It can't be destroyed, it just distributes and dissipates to the universe at large. Dr. Robert Lanza would add here that not only does it exist in the universe, it exists perhaps in another universe. If the patient is resuscitated, revived, this quantum information can go back into the microtubules, and the patient says, "I had a near-death experience." He adds that if they're not revived and the patient dies, it's possible that this quantum information can exist outside the body, perhaps indefinitely, as a soul. This account of quantum consciousness explains things like near-death experiences, astral projection, out-of-body experiences, and even reincarnation, without needing to appeal to religious ideology. The energy of your consciousness potentially gets recycled back into a different body at some point, and in the meantime, it exists outside of the physical body, on some other level of reality, and possibly in another universe.